How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at May. This is from 2001, written and directed by Lucky McKee. The movie stars Angela Bettis, Jeremy Sisto, and Anna Faris. Now, this is a movie I had heard about for a bit, and I never actually watched it until doing this review. I knew who Lucky McKee was. I'd seen him on Masters of Horror, and I saw his movie The Woods and thought that was really good. But he's definitely one of those directors I've been meaning to dive into deeper for quite some time now. I picked this one up because I found it on a list of, underrated Halloween movies. And I will say, the movie does take place around Halloween. It's not a huge part of the story, and I really wouldn't recommend watching the movie for the Halloween aspect, but I would recommend it if you like that subgenre of sort of dark character studies of someone who's a social outcast and inevitably their life will take a dark turn. I mean, we've seen this thing in things like Carrie, and recently we got the movie Pearl, and this does a really good job, but it's also kind of interesting and different. It does have that sort of quirky humor behind it. Think the characters and attitudes of like a Tim Burton movie, but without the over-the-top art direction. And we do really get to feel for May. And she is trying to put herself out there, she is trying to find someone, but you know that she just doesn't have the social skills, and she's going to run into a bit of bad luck. But they don't overdo it. You know, like Carrie's mom was a big, loud, in-your-face character. This girl's mom, you can definitely see how she played a part in setting May down this direction, but they don't overplay her, and all the people that May runs into aren't really bad people either. You can tell that something is going to go wrong. May does have psychological issues, and these are just normal people that aren't going to necessarily be equipped to handle the situation correctly, and by the time you get to the end, you really do feel sad for her more than horrified. I think it's probably more of a tragedy than a horror movie, and you really get to see how her character has been changed by the world, and it is a really, disturbing transition to get to where she gets to by the end. And I'll keep that vague because I don't really want to spoil where this is going. And I feel like if I had done more research about this movie going into it, I probably would have learned where the story was going, but I think it's better not to know, so it's more of a surprise. I thought this would be more of a creepy doll movie than it was. But when you get there and you're like, oh, this is what May's going to wind up doing, and then you flash back to other parts of the movie and you realize, oh, that's why this scene was in there. Oh, that's what that line meant. And even going towards the end of the movie, you realize that some of the characters' names were ironic as well. And I did like not knowing where this was going and getting to that really disturbing and sad ending. Overall, yeah, this is a really good dark character study. And if you do like things like Carrie, like Pearl, but with a weird off-kilter sense of humor behind it, I definitely say check this one out. It is a really good and well-made movie, and I really do need to watch more stuff from Lucky McKee now. Anyway, though, in order to analyze it further, I do want to do a bit of a deeper dive. I'll focus primarily on the story's setup, and I'll try not to ruin too much towards the end, but I do want to talk in a bit more specifics now. Anyway, we open up with May's childhood to find out what set her down this path, and there's two key things here. One, she had a lazy eye, and in turn, one of her eyes was looking in the wrong direction, and the mother had her wear an eye patch. Now, I'm not sure if she had to wear the eye patch medically, or if the mother just didn't want anyone seeing her eye, but it was a sign, a physical feature that let kids know she was different. But you don't really get any overt bullying. You get one kid going up to her, asking if she's a pirate, and when she says no, the kid just kind of walks off. And it's not so much like they're constantly abusing her, it's just like, that's the kid that's different, let's just not talk to her. which is sad, but again, not being super in your face kind of makes it feel truer, you know? Well, we then cut to her birthday a little bit later, and the mom says, if you can't find a friend, we can always make one. She opens her present, and there's a doll inside a glass box. And let me tell you, a good creepy movie doll. She's got this face that is super pale, big eyes, but also at the same time super emotionless. And even though she's just sitting there in her glass case, a really creepy and disturbing horror movie doll. But the mom says, this is the first doll I ever made, but you can't open the box. You can't touch her because she's fragile. And I do like the idea. Again, you know the mom set her down this path, but it's not super big or super in your face, and it's really just a small thing we see, but it does cue us in. You think, okay, the daughter has some form of a friend, but maybe she's going to over-rely on that and not step out of her box anymore. And also the idea that you're not going to even let the kid play with the doll, it has to stay in there. I think we can assume there was probably more stories that kept May isolated, but we see just enough to get that, and it is a really sad opening. Well, cut to the present, and May's all grown up, living on her own. I don't think we actually even see the mom again in the rest of the movie, but she's living on her own, and she's an assistant to this veterinarian. And we see that because May is a little closed off and a little emotionally distant, she's not really bothered by the gore like a lot of people would be, and she can do these surgeries relatively non-repulsed, and in turn you get scenes where she's like talking about some horrific surgery and not realizing that she's making a social faux pas. Well, one day she sees this guy named Adam, and she thinks he's very beautiful and really likes his hands. She doesn't know what to do though, and I do like her coming up with all these plans about how she's going to meet Adam and how they're going to fall in love, but then like either it not working out or her chickening out, and yet at the same time she tells her optometrist, oh yeah, make sure my contacts are ready because I'm totally gonna have a date Friday. This mixture of really wanting something but not knowing how to go about it, and when she does finally talk to him, it seems more like an accident, just a, he happened to be there more than anything else, but they do start to actually hit it off. Maybe it's going to go well. I mean, we know we're watching a horror movie, but maybe they seem to talk, and I like that Adam is just a guy. He's not like some frat jerk or anything. He's not secretly evil. He's just some dude. But again, just being some dude, maybe that means you don't necessarily have psychologist level social skills, and maybe you will trip over something. And I like his character. He's a horror geek. You see that he's made this short film, and I do like how it's really a short film that a horror geek in college would probably have made. A little bit silly, but he also talks about going to see Trauma in the theater. Like, he's like, oh, I can't go, I have to see this Dario Argento movie. And I will have to say, theaters in horror movies always play the deepest cuts. I wish my theaters around here were like that. They're mainly just new stuff and not even like the smaller new things. And if they play anything old, it's usually something big like Ghostbusters or Halloween. Like, it would be almost unheard of if one of my theaters locally were to play an Argento movie, and even then it would probably just be Suspiria or Deep Red, maybe Phenomena if we're lucky. But to play on the big screen as deep a cut as Trauma, boy, where are these theaters? I would love to have one near me. All that aside though, things seem to be going okay, but we're always nervous with this guy. But there's also a second potential love interest here. There's this secretary at the vet's office, and she is totally into May. She really has this big crush on her and is being overtly flirty with her. And at times you're like, does May even know what a lesbian is? I don't know, because she is totally clueless to this, and you think, okay, the guy started out not even knowing she existed, but maybe with someone who's overtly into you, maybe this relationship stands a better chance. But no, there's holes here as well. Obviously, huge gaps in sexual experience, but also perception of relationships as well. You can see how both these two potential love interests probably won't work out. Again, I won't spoil how the movie ends, but needless to say, it's a horror movie. Things are going to go horribly. And I will say I do like how you can see May's character change. Once she takes this step, something seems to click in her head, and she starts to deliver lines differently than she had before, and you can see how once she makes some decisions, that's going to really affect who she is as a person, and how things go about because of who she is are, let's just say, horrible, but also very precise in their execution. Again, trying to talk about it vaguely because I really don't want to ruin it, but I will say it did end on a really good creepy moment with some really good creepy visuals, and it gets dark and it gets horrific, but also you do really feel sad for her. You get to see that this is the end to a slow decaying nightmare, and boy, it is a shame that everything had to go this way, but isn't that what dark character studies are all about, am I right? Anyway though, this is a really well put together movie, really interesting, dark, good developed characters and acting, and on top of all that, a weird off-kilter sense of humor. I definitely say check it out, and I'm gonna have to look up more of what Lucky McKee did, see some of his other things. Anyway though, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more videos kind of like this, you can click right there and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.